Hi, welcome and hello. My name is Cole McCormick, internet's biggest Godzilla nerd, and I am back with another episode of Let's Argue, where you send me your hot takes, and I rip them apart while also shamelessly ripping off Anthony Fantano. Minya is actually a great character in my opinion. Though I understand why people hate his design in terms of people saying he's annoying, I disagree strongly. I absolutely love his personality. He's very funny, charming, and always brings a smile to my face. And also, fun fact, Minya is actually very popular amongst the Japanese fan base. I don't have a problem with Minya. I did when I was a kid, but that was more just like, oh, why can't Godzilla be like epic and strong and like badass? And when I realized like, oh, it's pretty fun actually when he's just having cute antics with his dumb looking kid, which by the way, Minya is ugly. I'm sorry. I know you say he's cute. That's cool and all. I think he's ugly. The cuter baby Godzilla is little Godzilla, hands down. No, I agree. I think that Minya is a fun character. Anytime he shows up, it's a riot. Even in Godzilla's Revenge, where I hate that he talks, some of the antics with Gamera, where he's like jumping around and shit, it's fun. I like it. I'm never opposed to having Minya in a movie. I mean, for my video where I pitched the next phase of the Monsterverse, I outright was like, yeah, let's put Minya in this. Let's get him in here. The first take here is the amount of effort that went into making the miniatures is astounding and is something that should be talked about more. I can't stop thinking about the fact that people hand-painted every single one of these tanks, cars, and planes only for them to be blown up in a spectacular fashion. Shame people write these movies off as man in corny rubber suit when there's so much more artistry in every frame. Yes, I agree 100%. Eiji Tsuburaya is the GOAT. Gotta be one of the most important people in all of cinema, beyond just tokusatsu and kaiju cinema in general. Yeah, 100% agree with you. Seeing some of these props get melted or blown up just honestly makes me sad sometimes. Just imagining some guy having to make those only to know that they're going to get blown up. Like, it almost like breaks my heart, but also like not really, because I'm sure they loved watching it get blown up because, you know, who wouldn't? But yeah, I agree 100% with this take. There is so much artistry in these movies, and that extends to even the modern ones where they stopped doing suitmation and they did CGI. CGI gets a very bad rap among Godzilla fans, at least the older ones for some reason. I think a lot of it just has to do with the fact that it's not a man in a rubber suit, or rather a fiberglass latex, whatever, the Godzilla suits. The thing with CGI is a lot of people rip on it and say, oh, it's all just done by a computer, it's so soulless, and I have to disagree. There are artists that do this stuff, like VFX, CGI like that is very much an art form in and of itself, on the same level as suitmation. And I think that same level of artistry is there, it's just in a different sort of way, if that makes sense. So, I agree, actually, kind of like taking this beyond the Showa era. Yes, there's artistry in all of these movies, regardless of the film's actual quality, because some of these effects are just mind-blowing with how intricate and detailed they are. Yeah, I agree, 100%. Godzilla's Revenge was the best movie ever. No, I'm sure this is bait, and if it isn't, then I'm really sorry. I'll try to be nice here. So, Godzilla's Revenge fails on all fronts as being a good Godzilla movie, as being a good kids movie, and as being a good movie, and at points even being a movie. Let me explain really quick, because I don't want this to be an entire rant. It feels more like a clip show than anything else. The movie is so reliant on stock footage, it's actually insane. The little kid protagonist is obnoxious as all hell. Gamera is hardly given anything to do. The fact that Minya talks like, you know, with that voice, not good, no bueno. So, yeah, respectfully, I would have to disagree with you, even though I'm fairly certain this is bait, and if it's not, then I'm sorry. Godzilla vs. Hedorah is top 3 in terms of Showa movies. It's the only Godzilla movie I would call an art house movie. I would agree with this. It's the most experimental, for sure. It definitely took a lot of risks and introduced aspects to the Godzilla franchise that we hadn't seen yet, like the medium of animation. Beyond that, though, Godzilla has appeared in a wide array of genres, ranging from sci-fi and horror to comedy and even animation. Not the genre, the medium. I heard your guys' comments. It's all good. So animation was introduced. It also just embraced that 60s, 70s psychedelia of the time. I'm looking at the fish mask scene in the nightclub, but also the scene of all the Japanese youth, the hippies going up to Mount Fuji to go and almost like mourn / celebrate the end of the world with Hedorah coming. And as soon as they hit that chord on the guitar, it goes from black and white to color. Really awesome scene. I've seen that movie a million times, and it wasn't until like fairly recently that I actually realized it was in black and white. That was when I watched the Criterion one. So yeah, it's definitely, it's the closest we have to an art house. It's the most experimental Godzilla movie by a long shot. I can't even think of one that's even half as experimental. Maybe Godzilla versus Gigan, but that's just more bad. Like, it's like someone hitting tin cans and then saying, oh, it's experimental. It's like, no, you're just hitting trash cans. Terror of Mechagodzilla has one of the best human plots in the series. I agree 100%. Katsura is such a sympathetic character. You just feel so bad for her. She is honestly like one of the most tragic characters in the entire Godzilla franchise. And that's saying a lot. There's a lot of human characters that get fucked over hard in these movies. But Katsura, it's just honestly horrific what happens to her. And even then, just the surrounding characters of like Dr. Mifune are just so interesting. So yes, I'd say it's probably like the second best of the Showa era in terms of human characters, just because the 54 movie is just up there with being the best of the best. But yeah, this is definitely close second with the Showa era. It's fantastic. I've seen a lot of these, but I'll just pick this one. Ebirah Horror of the Deep is the most underrated Godzilla movie, period. So I feel like this sentiment is mainly targeting my channel, just because in my infamous Dr. Skipper video, I ripped on that movie a decent amount. And I kind of want to clarify my stance here, just because that was very like drive-by shooting levels of like just sending hate for no reason. So let me kind of explain it a bit. Ebirah Horror of the Deep is not a Godzilla movie. It does not feel like it, and there's a reason for that. It's because King Kong was supposed to be in the lead. It was never supposed to be a Godzilla movie. That's why he's woken up by lightning. He has that very, very weird and gross attraction to that female character, which I hate that trope in general. So yeah, and seeing it with Godzilla, it's even grosser. I don't want to be thinking about what he's thinking about that woman, because that's nasty.
You're a victim. There we go, CSI.
Beyond all that, the movie has one of the worst fight scenes ever, and that's the giant condor fight, which is just terrible. And then when he actually does fight Ebirah, it's just like a volleyball game. So it's very boring. The island stuff hadn't yet been perfected, I guess, because I'm not a big fan of those type of movies. But yeah, it feels more like a James Bond movie rather than an actual Godzilla movie. Not a fan. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people do defend that movie. They do like it. A lot of it's just because they like Ebirah, but for me personally, no, it's not good. Invasion of the Astro Monster shows a lot of great human scenes where the aliens pretend to be good, but turns out they were evil. For the most part, I think the human drama throughout Invasion of the Astro Monster is very, very solid. It feels like Star Trek, even though it technically predates Star Trek. Incoming clickbait video from Firewood Media. Did Star Trek rip off Godzilla? Yeah, I do like a lot of the aesthetics of that, and I love just the feeling of it. I love that sort of like 60s sci-fi, and I love the look of the aliens. It's all great stuff. But I have to disagree, just because it feels like you see that twist coming from a mile away. There's no way that these aliens were going to be the good guys. Even when I was little, I knew they could not be trusted, so yeah. The one thing though that I do like is that the female love interest for Glenn is, yeah, he that comes out of nowhere. He got by that alien Budusi. That's actually a decent twist, I will say that. But the whole, oh, we were evil the whole time. You're kind of already expecting that whenever there's aliens in these movies, and I know this was like a first for Godzilla, but still, it's just kind of expected at this point. It actually would have been a cooler twist if they weren't bad guys, in my opinion. But I know that's being subversive for 1960s, so we'll move on. But kind of half agree with this take, yeah. The Showa era is underrated as hell and deserves way more respect. I don't really think it's underrated, actually. I think it's perfectly rated as is. I think, honestly, it is what it is. If anything, I'd say the Millennium Era is probably underrated as opposed to the Showa Era. Not a lot of people tend to talk about Millennium Era unless it's, Godzilla Final Wars or the Kiryu Saga. But either way, not really underrated, so I gotta disagree with you. I think it's right where it needs to be. There's a lot of good, a lot of bad. but still overall a ton of fun, regardless of what movie you put on, unless it's like Godzilla's Revenge. Titanosaurus is the best Showa era monster. I have to agree. Titanosaurus is the most interesting looking monster, the most interesting sounding monster of the Godzilla franchise. I love that trumpet-like roar that he has. It's so cool, so unique. I love the tail, how it like opens up. Wicked. The Godzilla Showa era is better than the Gamera Showa era, but the Gamera Heisei era is better than the Godzilla Heisei era. I hope I didn't mess that up. Yes, I agree with this person 100%. The Gamera Showa era movies are very, very cheap. You could just tell from looking at them that, you know, they are nowhere near as good as the Godzilla Showa era in terms of just visual aesthetics. While, yeah, to anyone else, they look kind of similar. You can just tell they're just not up to par. Like, especially later down the line, it gets really, really cheap. You really don't see that with Godzilla. In fact, it's the opposite. Terror of Mechagodzilla has a super high production value. It looks great. It feels expensive. I also agree with the Gamera Heisei era being better than the Godzilla Heisei era. That could be a video in and of itself, so I'll just say, for now, yes, I agree. Well, that about wraps everything up. If your comment wasn't included, then I am sorry. Come back next time. We'll have another community post where you can send me your hot takes. With all that out of the way, I'm Cole McCormick. You're watching Firewood Media. Thank you so much for participating if you did, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.